Alright guys, so today we're going to be going over a really quick video for Storm Hanger. This is the new Abyss Colossus that is showing up in Season 3, and unlike a lot of the other ones, this one does have a few mechanics that you need to be aware of. Just like the Wall Crasher, this boss did take me a few attempts to figure out how to do everything. But once we figured everything out, we were able to take the boss out pretty quickly. But having said all that guys, let's go ahead and hop into the video. Alright guys, so if you've seen our video on the Wall Crasher, then this build is going to be somewhat familiar to you. The main weapon for this build is actually going to be the Albion Cavalry Gun again. We really like how well this weapon synergizes with Serena and her 4. So for the cores on this, we're going to go ahead and put 2 fire rate cores, 2 toxic attack cores, and then this version of the gun actually has firearm critical hit rate. I'm going to tell you the same thing on this video that I said on the Wall Crasher video. I really wanted to try a version of this gun where I had multi-hit chance there and not firearm critical hit. But unfortunately, we did not have those cores during the build. With this build being so heavily focused on Serena's 4, I feel like you're going to get a lot of use out of that core. But for now, we did do it with the firearm critical hit rate core, so feel free to slot that in. When it comes to the roll down bottom, we went ahead and went with toxic attack, firearm critical hit rate, and multi-hit chance. Now for the mods on this weapon, it will look very similar to the one that we used on the Wall Crasher. The big thing to notice here is that we're going to really focus on getting the weapon's base damage up. We are going to put the fire rate up, and we're going to get a bunch of multi-hit chance on here. Outside of that, we're going to stack into the poison damage and work on getting that critical hit damage to do as much as we can. So for the reactor on this build, it does not matter what type of reactor you have on. The main thing you're going to want to have here is skill cost reduction and skill cooldown. This fight, like the Wall Crasher fight, will last just a little bit longer than your average fight. And because of that, we want to make sure Serena is able to be in the air as much as possible, that way she can do the most damage possible. And this reactor is going to let you do that. When it comes to the components, go ahead and use the Ascending Armory set. We like this set for the same reason we liked it on the Wall Crasher. It's going to give us skill cost reduction, which allows us to fly more, and it's going to allow us to gain additional ammo when we reload in the air by dashing. This is going to ensure we have the most time in the air putting out damage as possible, so you're going to want to take advantage of this set on Serena for this fight. When it comes to the inversion reinforcement, this is what we're going to be looking at. You are going to want to go ahead and use firearm control mechanism, toxic focused rounds, and selective neurostimulation. Firearm control mechanism and toxic focused rounds are going to ensure you're doing as much damage as you can with your weapon and with your 4, and the selective neurostimulation is just going to give you back a little bit more MP. All of this is going to ensure you're able to put out as much damage as possible for as long as possible. Now for the Arche tuning on this fight, we're going to go with the same thing we used on the Wall Crasher. We really want to work on that multi-hit, and then we're going to swing down to the bottom right to ensure that we get a little bit more skill cost reduction while picking up the gold HP node and pushing our HP up as high as we can. Most of the damage is going to be coming from Serena's 4, and this is going to help us out because her 4 really scales off of her HP, and then we're going to be getting additional procs of that with the multi-hit. So all around, this is a great tree to use for Serena on this boss fight. For the dog here, we're going to go ahead and use the Vesper Hunting Dog. We do like the Vesper Hunting Dog on this build, especially because these fights are going to take you more than 30 seconds. Up to this point, most of our harder fights have been finished in 10 seconds or less, so it didn't matter which dog you use. But in a fight like this, where it could drag out for a couple minutes, you're going to gain a lot of mileage out of this dog. So for the mods on here, this is what we're going to be looking at. We're going to really try to ratchet Serena's HP up as high as we can. That way we can scale her 4 up to the moon. Outside of that, we're going to lower our cooldown and crank our duration to try to keep our 4 up as long as possible. So we do add a little bit of quality life here with MP Collector. It is nice to be able to get some MP back if you do run out when you shoot the enemies that are on the ground. And the last thing here is going to be multi-talented. You really need to have this in order to be able to keep 100% uptime on your 4. Now, unlike the Wall Crasher, Kuiper Hollow Points actually will put in some work on this fight. The boss does move around quite a bit, and even if you're trying to, there are going to be times that you are missing weak points. And when you miss weak points, the Kuiper Hollow Point rounds are going to stack up. And then when you start hitting weak points, you're going to just do even more damage. So I would try to have this trigger mod on for the fight if you have it. Alright guys, so now I'm going to explain to you a little bit about how the Storm Hanger works, and then after that I'm going to tell you the gameplay loop and what you need to do to be able to survive the fight and win. When the fight starts out, the Storm Hanger starts out in what I'm calling the blue phase. This phase exists for a while, and I found that typically when I get about half of his shield gone, he will swap over to what I like to call the red phase. So in the red phase, he actually has just a couple mechanics you need to know about. The biggest one is there are going to be floating gold metal spheres in the air. Now, if you shoot these, they will crack open and create a protective dome. Now, you will need this dome because the boss in its red phase has a couple what I call big attacks. These are very well telegraphed because you can see the boss glowing red and having a sort of red electrical charge around him. When this happens, make sure you're in one of these domes. If you're not, there's actually a really good chance that getting hit by this will one-shot you even on Serena. The other thing you need to be aware of is there are going to be blue electrical orbs on the ground. Now, I want to tell you something right now. Unfortunately, these do not stack. So you have to wait for one to run out before you pick up a new one. Again, grabbing one of these when you already have one on will not refresh your timer. I personally think this is a bad move and a bad design by the devs. It is very hard to see this buff on your character when you have a ton of other buffs. Hopefully they reevaluate it and allow you to refresh the timer by picking up other blue orbs. Now, when it comes to these blue orbs, I am a little bit up in the air on them. I've went back and re-looked at my footage, and having one of these blue orbs on does not seem to increase your damage in any real way. And with the way the First Descendant is set up, it's not easy to go in and look at what the buffs are on your character. I'm sure once the game goes live, data miners will go in and figure out exactly what it does. And when they do, I will add that to the pinned comments below. That way you guys know exactly what it does. But for now, know that you need to pick these up. Now, the reason I say that you need to pick these up is because I've done this fight numerous times. And what I found is that if I pick these up, eventually we're able to pull him out of the red phase and put him back in the blue phase. If I completely ignore these, I've tended to notice that he stays in the red phase and he is much harder to kill. So while I cannot tell you exactly what they do, I can tell you that they are worth picking up. So make sure you have the buff from one of these on you at all times. Alright, so having said all that, it's time to explain to you how to actually take this fight. When I spawned in, the first thing I did was just jumped in the air and popped my 4 and headed to the air. Once I was in the air, I just aimed for the boss. Now, unfortunately, I do have damage numbers on, so it makes it very hard for me to tell where I'm hitting. With this boss, I would actually suggest you turn them off if you do have them on. That way you can easily hit the weak points. Between this boss moving all over and all the damage numbers, it is going to be hard for you to do it. And being able to hit the weak points is just going to make the fight end that much faster. At this point, just keep doing damage to the boss and he should retract into the sky a little bit. When he does that, you'll notice a distinct color shift and you will now be in the red phase. When you're in the red phase, again, you need to pay attention to the things we mentioned earlier. Go ahead and keep doing damage to the boss as often as you can. If you see that he is charging up to do one of his large attacks, make sure you run down into one of the blue orbs on the ground. If you're not playing with teammates, make sure you shoot one open from the gold spheres that we were talking about before. Wait in there until the red attack is over, and then afterwards get back out and continue doing damage. The other thing to keep in mind is keep an eye on your buff and make sure you're getting the blue spark buff on the ground. Again, while we don't know exactly what this does do, I can tell you that having this will pull him out of the red phase and will make the fight that much faster. But while you're in the red phase, this is just a rinse and repeat. Do damage to the boss, and then when he goes to do his red attack, jump in the blue domes on the ground to keep yourself shielded, jump out, refresh your blue buff, and go back to doing damage on the boss. Eventually, you will pull him out of the red phase, and then it's back to the blue phase. When you get into the blue phase, the boss is way less lethal, so just keep pressure on him and keep shooting him until you finish him off and until you clear the boss. Alright guys, and that's it. That's everything you need to know about the Storm Hanger. Just like the wall crasher, this fight did take me a couple times to really figure out how to do it, but once I figured it out, the fight was actually quite enjoyable, and I did like the fact that it wasn't over in 3 seconds, and I did have to do at least some type of mechanic. The biggest issue here is that we're so used to fast Abyss Colossus that this one is going to feel like it takes quite a bit longer, and I don't think the rewards are any better than what they used to be when we could clear these in just a matter of seconds. So hopefully the devs really reevaluate this and make fights like this more in the future and make them more rewarding, as we're already spoiled by being able to take these bosses out instantaneously. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, consider liking and subscribing for more First Descendant content as well as other game coverage in the future. And if you want to get to know me and the community a little bit more, consider watching us live here on YouTube or over on Twitch. We do stream 5 days a week and we would absolutely love to get to know you. But having said all that guys, thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.